In this video, we are going to discuss about column splices. So, what are column splices? See, in many situations, when we are dealing with multi-storied buildings or other structures, steel columns are going to be very much large. Okay, but you may have noticed that they are not a single member because building a bigger column section of steel can be a difficult. So what we do is we join different columns to form a single column. Okay, and in sometimes in case of multi-storied buildings, as you can see from floor to floor, the dimensions of the column changes. So you cannot make a big same cross section area of column. You cannot use that same column from top to bottom, right? So what happens is in the ground floor the load on the column will be higher, therefore cross section has to be bigger. As you go up, the loads acting on the columns are going to be less, therefore lesser cross section columns are enough. So now when you are trying to connect these columns of different lengths, or since you cannot use a bigger column at the same time, so you are connecting two columns to form a single column or three or four columns, that is where this column splices comes into existence. Okay, so what we do is, see, instead of a very big column, we go for smaller sections and we will connect them. Okay, so in order to connect columns we use splice plates. So this is where this column splices has come into existence, and we are going to design these column splices. I mean, these splices are nothing but plates that are attached to both these columns, and they hold these two columns as a single member. Okay, see, the manner in which they are placed or they are connecting the columns is a little bit different compared to battens and lacing system. Okay, so let me go into this. Let me show you a few figures here so that you may get more clarity about this. See, this is a column, this is upper column, and this is lower column, and this is nothing but splice plate. Okay, so this is how they connect, and this is the front view, and this is the side view, and this is the isometric view of that section column. And sometimes web splice to shear is also used. See, in the first case, the splice plates are attached to the flanges of the I section. Okay, but sometimes when there is a shear, in order to resist the shear on the column, we use these web splices also. So web splices are meant to resist the transverse షియర్. ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ షియర్ అంటే ఈ కారణంగా ఈ డైరెక్షన్లో వచ్చే ట్రాన్స్ఫర్స్ షియర్ ఫోర్స్ని తట్టుకునే విధంగా. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈస్ ది డైరెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ది ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ షియర్ ఫోర్స్, అండ్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ షియర్ ఫోర్స్ this column is going to experience shear stresses, and in order to resist that, a web column splice is to be placed. Okay, but these splices which are attached to the flanges cannot resist the shear. Okay, so in addition to this we have to provide web splice also. And in some situations, as you can see in this below figure C, the upper column and lower column are of different dimensions. Okay, so what happens in that case? You may have to use a packing plate. See, this is a packing plate. The width of the bottom column is higher than the upper column. So what happens is you have to use some packing plates. But in some situations, what happens is the upper column can be very much small. So what happens in that case? See, if you see in this fourth figure D, the upper column is actually resting on the web of this lower column, isn't it? Upper column is resting on the web of the lower column. So in that case, what we do is we arrange a bearing plate. Okay, we arrange a simple plate of certain thickness, width equals to the lower column, depth of this. See, if this is the depth of the column D, the width of the plate is also going to be D, or length of the plate, whatever it is, this dimension has to be D, so that the force that is coming through this upper smaller column onto this lower bigger column is transferred through the help of by the help of this bearing plate. If there is no bearing plate, the load is directly applied on the web of the lower column. That creates a problem to the web of the bottom column, this web. Okay, so avoid that, you have to put this bearing plate. But remember, because of this thing, you are going to have certain movement. Okay, movement is going to be generated and bending stresses are going to be induced in this. Okay, we will see that later on. So what are the codal provisions? Okay, so the clause number 5.3 of IS 800 deals with this column splices. So when the ends of the compression member are faced for bearing over the whole area, they shall be spliced to hold the connected members accurately in position and to rest in any tension and bending is present. See, I will make this as clear as possible and as simple as possible. See, there is a column here, bottom column here, and there is another column. Okay, so the difference between these two, let me just clear this. Let me draw figures a bit more clean. See, this is a column and there is another column. Okay, this is the length. Okay, okay. So now you have to place another column on this column. These are the lower columns. But remember, notice this here, the surface of this column is exactly flat. The surface of this is with undulations or inclined. So when you try to place a column like this, what happens is this complete cross section of the upper column will come in contact with the complete cross section of the bottom column, so that because of this, the load which is coming from the upper column onto the lower column will be transferred by completely bearing only. Bearing అంటే ఒకదాని మీద ఒకటి రెస్ట్ అయ్యి ఫోర్స్ అప్లై చేయడం అనమాట, లోడ్ని ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయడం. Okay, but what happens if there is something like the same column there, load acting, but the surface of this uh, lower column is not proper? So what happens is, in that case, the load which is acting will behave as an eccentric load and will give rise to the additional eccentric movements and generate outai. And because of this, the load shared by these splice plates also changes. Okay, so we will see a little bit in detail about those cases. Okay, uh, see, this is the design procedure of column splice. Okay, but it is better for us to go to the different cases first and discuss them before going into this. See, in the first case, a uniform column cross section, the ends of the column are cut by ordinary method and not milled. Ante these are cut normally, okay, by ordinary methods. Steel columns, we are talking about steel columns. So in that case, the load taken by the each splice of a column is going to be half of this. Okay, so ఇప్పుడు for example there is a big column, and if you are trying to cut something with a knife or hacksaw blade, what happens is you cannot get a uniform cut, right? You cannot get a proper cut. It is not going to be perfect. So if that is the case, if the column is cut by the ordinary methods and not by milled method, so what happens is you have to consider that the splice plates are also taking the load, and how much amount of the load is taking, whatever the load acting on this column, that same load is also acting on this splice. That is what we have to assume in this case. So we have to put two splice plates on either sides of the columns, right? So each column will share half of the total load acting on it. But what happens if they are machine cut? And we have used some standard machinery to cut them perfectly. So in that case, the load to be transferred to the column splices by the column splices is taken as 50% of total load. If this is a load of something like 100 kilonewton is acting on it, these splice plates are said to be transferring 50 kilonewton to the bottom column. Okay, but if they are smaller in sometimes, as you can see in this case 3, for uniform cross section subjected to axial load and movement also, sometimes movement subjected to movement, and in that case you have to add additional axial load to move due to movement, that is movement by depth of the column section. Okay, this is the additional load due to movement load due to movement. This should also be considered. And in case of fourth case, that is splicing of different column sections subjected to axial force ante ilaga, and bending movement and shear. In such case, what we need to do is we have to use a web splice. As I told you, in this case we have to use a column splice. So column splice comes into existence only when there is a shear force. Okay, so the procedure would be in this way. Okay, see, in all the cases the procedure is same, but this load shared by each splice plate is going to be different. Okay, so that is what you need to take into account. So first step starts with load to be transferred with column splice. So in the question he will give you how the cut of the columns is done. Is it machine or not a machine? Okay, so based on that you consider whether these column splices are taking the total axial load or only half of the axial load, as in the case 2. Next, load taken by each splice, right? There are 2 splices, each share half of this load coming onto this splice. Now assume this value sigma AC, which is equals to 150 Newton per mm square, in order to calculate what is the area of the splice plate required. So we have come across this formula many times. See, the load that is taken by this splice is equals to the stress in this splice into area of splice. Okay, this is force equals to stress into area, or stress is equals to force by area, the same simple equation. So what is P? P is the load that is taken by the splice plate, FCD is the stress induced in the splice plate, and A is the cross sectional area of the splice plate. So I know what is P, I don't know what is A and FCD. So if I wanted to know what is A, I need to find out FCD, but I do not have any other way of finding out FCD. So I assume FCD as 150 Newton per mm square. Since the slenderness ratio is 0, because the slice plate is in contact with column. See, the slenderness ratio of this column splice plates is taken to be 0 because there is no unsupported portion of this splice plate. The entire splice plate is in contact with the column with bolt or weld. So from this, by assuming FCD, and as you know, this P is nothing but load taken. In this first case, ఆర్డినరీ కట్ అయితే లోడ్ ఎంత అవుతుందంటే ట్రాన్స్మిటెడ్ బై ది కాలమ్స్ ప్లేస్ ఇస్ టోటల్ యాక్సియల్ లోడ్. కాలం మీదకి ఏదైతే ఫోర్స్ వస్తుందో అదంతా కూడా కాలమ్స్ ప్లేస్ తీసుకుంటుంది అని తీసుకుంటున్నాం. సో దట్ వాల్యూ పి వేయాలి ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, సో వన్స్ యూ నో ది ఏరియా, ఓకే, once you know the area which is equals to load on splice plate by 150, you need to find out the width. Okay, so what is the width? Is going to be width of this splice plate is going to be width of the flange of column, isn't it? See here, let me show you this. See, right, see, this is the width B, okay, of this splice plate. As you can see, the width of this splice plate is also equal to the width of this flange, isn't it right? So what is the column that you have used? Based on that you can just put that value here. So width of this splice plate is equal to width of the flange of the column. Okay, so what happens to the other dimension T? So you know what is the area from step 4. So area is equals to width into thickness. So you can just find out what is the thickness. So thickness is equals to A by W. T is equals to A by W. So find out minimum thickness should be 6 mm. If you get less than 6, just take 6 mm. Okay, if you get above 6, that's no problem, but just round it off to the highest value. Next highest value. Okay, next number, step number 7. Assume the diameter of the rivet and calculate the gross area of the rivet or bolt. Okay, rivet and rivet agadu bolt. Rivets and bolt connection is similar. So assume the diameter of the rivet and calculate the gross diameter of rivets. Okay, because I wanted to connect this splice plate to the column with this bolt connection. Okay, so now calculate the strength of the rivets or bolts in single shear and bearing and find the rivet value. So the rivet value or bolt value is nothing but the strength of the bolt. Okay, so what is the load taken by the splice plate is shared by the bolt. So based on the strength of each bolt you can find out how many number of bolts are actually required. Okay, so once you found out that is where the procedure of this comes to almost end. So I calculated the number of bolts or rivets, and now find out the length of the splice plate. What is the length? This is the length of the splice plate. See, this is length. Okay, so now what is the length? 2 times of edge distance plus n-1 times of pitch. That would help you, but it is easier to find out. That's not a bit critical, not a difficult thing to do. And you know edge distance, minimum edge distance is 1.5 times of nominal diameter of the bolt, and minimum pitch is 2.5 times of the diameter. Okay, so as I told you, in case 2, case 3 and case 4, what happens is the load taken by the splice plate changes. See, in the case 2, as seen earlier, if they are cut by machine, the load taken by the column splice is 50%. But in case 1, since they are ordinary cut, the load transmitted by column splices is total axial load. Okay, we have to consider that. But in the case 4, as I told you earlier, is subjected to axial force, movement, and also shear. Therefore, uh, we have to go for the web splice also. Okay, and in case the top column and bottom column are different shapes, you have to use filler plates based on the situation. And if the top column is very much small, then you have to go for bearing plates. Okay, so these are the certain codal provisions regarding the length of the filler plates. They have to be greater than or equals to half the length of the flange splice plates. Okay, we will see them in detail when we are trying to solve the problem. Okay, and of course, you know, the splice plates which are attached to the flange are called as flange splice plate, and attached to the web are web plates or web splice plates. Okay, see here, let me show you this figure here for you. So when the difference in column depth is more, when the dimensions of the columns is more, see here, the upper column and bottom column, upper column depth, this is depth. Okay, this is depth. Upper column depth is the difference between these two column depths is more, bearing plates are required, and design of bearing plates has to be done by calculating the moment. So what is moment? M equals to W by 2 into B. Okay, so how do you get this W by 2 into B is, see here, when W is the top load acting, total load acting, okay, each flange will exert a force of W by 2 on this bearing plate. Okay, this bearing plate in turn will try to exert that same amount of force onto this bottom column flanges. So now the bottom column flanges will exert a reaction of W by 2 upward, and this top column flange will exert a load of W by 2 in bottom. Okay, so now the net movement, what is going to be there? W by 2 into the distance B. Okay, so the movement is W by 2 into B, and you know the width of the bearing plate is going to be width of the flange we have seen earlier. Okay, the Z of the bearing plate is going to be LT square by 6. Okay, this is something like D square by 6. B place lo ikkada L, D square D place lo T. Okay, the formula is the same thing. So you know that moment of resistance is equals to stress into Z. How did we get this equation? From the bending equation, M by I is equals to F by Y. This is how you get M is equals to, you send this F into I by Y and F into Z. And of course here this F is denoted with sigma BC, no problem with that. And T finally will give you root over 6m by L sigma BC. So the design of flange splice plate, web splice plate and the filler plates are similar to case 4. So that this is it. Now we are going to solve a numerical problem in the next class. Thank you.